Hey guys, this is our third and final learning teaching interaction. The first thing that we talked about was the FLE Chapter 3, and we were talking about what is the purpose of program evaluation. The purpose of program evaluation is to gather the data that you need to make your program stronger. It's supposed to give you important data about what's working well and what you need to work on for your program, and it also can give you information on how to match certain program options to program clients. It's important to have a clear understanding of your vision and program goals because if you don't have that before you start assessing the program, you have to have a shared vision because you have to have the shared vision, otherwise you're not going to know what you're working on. Everybody who's going to work on the program needs to have the same thoughts and the same idea that they want for their end result so that you're all working towards the same thing. Having a vision means you know what you want the program to accomplish by focusing on the end result. It's also important to be on the same page to know what you want out of the program because then you know what you should be teaching from your program. Then we were asked what basic things about our FLE program we wanted to know in order to improve the effectiveness. Mine would be, I guess, if I have enough participation parts and if I'm providing information that the participants are going to find useful, or really that they haven't heard before, because I don't want to be repeating information that they've all heard a billion times. So then we were asked about our plans for assessing our FLE programs. Mine, I created a handout that I'm going to give out at the end of my presentations. Obviously, I'm doing two programs. So the first one is going to give me more time to change the things that they give me to change. Whereas with the second one, I'm not really going to be able to change much, but I will be able to take that into account for any later things that I'm going to do, any later programs or anything like that. So then we were talking about the FLE Appendix E and PALMS article. We were talking about the Code of Ethics, and I think that the Code of Ethics strengthens our practices because when we comply with the rules, our presentations are stronger. It's like if you're giving a speech and you have a rubric for the speech. If you read the rubric beforehand, you know what you need to include, but if you don't read it, you're going to miss out on points that you could have made. In the end, you're going to get a higher grade for reading the rubric beforehand, and the same thing goes for these programs. Then we were asked what caught our eye, which principles caught our eye. For me, it was the principles that related to diversity and differences between the parents and educators. I also like the principles relating to how the parents have the last say, but it's the educator's job to challenge the parents to try new things. I like that because I think it's important that parents are challenged, but ultimately they have the final say because people think that their way is just the right way automatically, so when someone comes in and tells them to try something new, they're already kind of set in their ways, but I like the idea that parents need to be challenged. I didn't have any questions related to the Code of Ethics. So yeah, I think value systems definitely make a difference with the Code of Ethics. Personally, I think some of my values make some of the ethics pointless just because I wasn't going to break those ethics already, even if they weren't stated because of my own values. I think my values are going to influence the way I teach because I'm going to teach the way I would want to be taught. So then we were asked what we would do if we were working with someone who was different than us or disagreed with us. I would say that you just have to approach this the same way you would work with someone who agreed with everything on you. You have to remain professional and just get the work done. Just because you hate someone doesn't mean you can't work with them. Then we talked about ethical dilemmas that we may see arising. For me, I may see that we aren't qualified to be therapists for any of our participants, and so we can't let our presentations get into anything that feels therapy-ish. So we talked about how we need to be sensitive to the effects of our intervention on the welfare of others because that creates a higher standard than mandatory ethics because mandatory ethics is basically you're just complying with the law, whereas with aspiration ethics, you're tapping into your emotions or your common sense that has to do with other people. You wouldn't do something bad or mean to somebody else, and that's what aspiration ethics counts on, whereas mandatory ethics is more selfish in that you follow what the law says so that you don't get in trouble. So then we were asked about things that we think, good values about ourselves that we think are going to help us with our programs. For me, I'm really empathetic and understanding, which is going to allow me to be a good educator and also maintain high standards. I'm also really honest. I don't like breaking rules, and I like to know that I did a good job. So all these things are going to allow me to be a good educator while also maintaining high standards. Finally, we talked about Doherty's article, and then the Myers-Walls, Ballard, Anderson, and Myers-Bowman article. So the basic goal of the Myers-Wall et al. Article is determining the definition of family life education and how it's different from other family-related fields, as well as determining what you can and cannot do in that field. I think that the Myers-Walls article thought that Doherty's model had criteria that could be improved. They thought that some of his ideas aren't actually in line with the family life education. And I agree with some of their concerns, but mostly I just think that everybody's ideas are right and wrong in some aspects. It's mostly based on opinions of what you think fits in, so I think both articles are right and wrong in their own ways. Our roles in working with families is to provide them with correct and valid information. It's my responsibility to make sure they're informed. If I had to choose 3 words to describe family life education, they would be respect, inform, enlighten. So then the question was, what are we most qualified to provide for our clients, I guess, or people we're working with? And that is that we are to provide information and advice as well as support and understanding for their feelings. Then we were asked about boundaries and limits. I think we always have to know what our boundaries and limits are, but especially when we're working with families, because we have to know what we are and aren't qualified to say. Otherwise, we're being dishonest, and we need to try and be as honest and helpful for the families as possible. Then finally, we asked how the Myers-Walls article helped us see why it's important not to be a counselor or therapist. If we're giving those people counseling or therapy advice, we're being dishonest. It's not our job. We're not qualified to do it. And if we do that, we're hurting them, and we're also hurting ourselves. So those are my thoughts on the most recent articles that we did. Thanks. Bye.